Cinema, we're going to talk Good Fortune. Now, Good Fortune, this is, I believe, written and directed by Aziz Ansari, starring Aziz Ansari, Seth Rogen, and Keanu Reeves, which is the main thing. And it is a kind of idea that we've seen before in cinema or in film, where you have a whole bunch of angels. And so there's like a little bit of It's a Wonderful Life in there, where you have like angels and they're all looking down. But the idea is this, that you have like this hierarchy of angels, and you have angels who are in charge of different things. So you have Stephen McKinley Henderson, who plays an angel called Azrael, and he's like, and because he's like a high up angel, he has massive wings, and he's in charge of lost souls, and he tells you stories about how he saw this lost soul who was on a bridge, and he put his hand on his shoulder, and he showed him what his life would be like what his life would be like if he didn't end his life now, and he turned him round, and he decided that it wasn't a lost soul. They have Keanu Reeves, Gabriel, who is in charge of texting and driving. So what he does is that he stops people from texting and driving. So there's a woman driving a car, texting. He puts her hand on the shoulder and she goes, ah! And stops the car because she realizes she's about to hit something. She's not aware of the angel, but that's what his job is. That's what his job is. And it's oh, sorry, excuse me. Sorry, more things on my computer making noise. So that's what his job is. But he doesn't want to be he doesn't want to be that anymore. He says, I want to do what Azrael does. I want to go out there and I want to save people. I want to make a difference to people. And that's his whole idea. Then he sees the Aziz Ansari character, Arj, who is working in like the equivalent of a B&Q or a Home Depot or something like that. But he's living in his car. He's trying to make ends meet. He's trying to do the gig economy thing where they have a lot more of them in America, like like Taskmaster, or no, not Taskmaster, TaskRabbit, and all that kind of stuff. And he finds himself being just sort of like kicked down at every turn. His car gets repossessed. He can't find anywhere to park it. He tries to sleep in a car park and tell him he can't park there. All that kind of stuff. And so he ends up being an assistant for Seth Rogen's character, who's this rich tech bro. And so Keanu Reeves' character, Gabriel, decides to step in, even though he has no training in the matter whatsoever. He goes like, I found a lost soul. I want to do what Azrael does. So he reveals himself to Arj, and he's like, come on, let me show you why your life isn't so bad. And it goes wrong at every turn because there's Sandra Oh plays the head Gabriel, Martha, and there's a head angel, Martha. And there's a line that's also in the trailer where she goes, what did you do, Gabriel? And he goes, well, I tried to show him that just by having more money, it wouldn't make his life better. It wouldn't solve his problems. And what happened? It solved his problems. So what he does is that he switches places. He switches sort of Aziz Ansari's Arj with Seth Rogen's Jeff, and he's like, oh my god, this is amazing, all that kind of stuff. And then the only thing about this is that this film ends up being exactly the film you think it's going to be. So if you remember Heaven Can Wait with Warren Beatty, or which was remade as Down to Earth with Chris Rock, and any one of those sort of films, that's essentially this film, but with these guys in it. And with Keanu Reeves doing... There's how Keanu Reeves is often hit with the stick of him being being an extremely wooden actor. There are scenes in this where it feels like Keanu Reeves is doing a parody of Keanu Reeves being a wooden actor. Like, it's just so... You're kind of like, I think you've dialed it up. I think you've actually dialed up the word. And the sort of the weird line delivery and, oh no, I think that's a mistake. And it's just kind of
Where's
like...
the long pause, and long pause, and long pause, F, long pause, B, yep. Long pause, I, long pause, agent. Yeah. That always felt like each word was being filmed separately.
Well, yeah, there are periods like that where he's like, so yeah, it's and I feel like there's bits of it. There are bits of it where I did laugh, but I did kind of think, okay, we know where this is going, and it did go exactly where it is. You have Keke Palmer in there, and they try and give Keke Palmer, who is one of those people who is not well. She's usually not well served in films, but they try and give her character more because instead of her just being the love interest, she's actually trying to set up a union, and then the film has this whole thing where it tries to do almost kind of like an Eat the Rich thing, where it tries to have a commentary on the rich people and why the only reason why rich people can have so much is because poor people have so little. And it kind of tries to do that, but then try and be like, a bit of a gross-up comedy. And I'm not so sure that the two things meld together. I'm not sure they meld together. It kind of feels, because it feels like it's, well, and this is the thing. Okay, you have Seth Rogen. Seth Rogen, Aziz Ansari, Keanu Reeves, they are not wanting for money at the moment. Now, there are people in the world who have way more money than they do, and I think that they're complaining about the people who have way more money than they do, like your tech bros. This is very kind of like aiming at people, like, it's one of those things. But there is still something that is a little bit, I don't know, disingenuous, hypocritical about a bunch of people who obviously do have quite a bit of money talking to you about how, oh my God, those people are terrible because they have money. And there's something about it, I'm like,
injustice, when you're like part of that injustice system yourself.
Exactly. And I know that they do things like, I know that because Seth Rogen plays a guy who has an assistant, and in real life, when you hear about Seth Rogen and his assistants, he seems to be totally different. Like he actually seems to help his assistants get a leg up, and like his show that won a whole bunch of Emmys, The Studio, one of the creators of the show used to be his assistant, and he actually worked with her to develop this show and made her an executive producer on the show. And so Seth Rogen is somebody who I think is actually trying to do something different. Like if you look, like his own, there's some. I'll give him that. But there's still something where you have a whole bunch of rich people trying to tell you about why it's so terrible and why rich people should stop doing this. And one of these days, poor people are going to rise up and show you. And you're like, you could have done something better with that. I feel like you could have. I was hoping this one was going to be a lot more clever than it was. As it was kind of like straightforward. You kind of knew where it was going, and it got to the point where each person's shtick after a while starts wearing a little bit thin, because I think Aziz Ansari has a certain shtick that starts wearing a little bit thin. But I still think I'm all for him. He almost everything he does now, he casts his dad in it, and his dad usually has one or two killer lines, and his dad has one killer line in this that I was just kind of like, yeah, his dad's not an actor. His dad is not a good actor, but his dad is a great presence. Let's put it that. But all in all, I would have to give Good Fortune a 2 stars out of 5. Yeah, because it's
okay.
It's okay. It's okay, but
I will still look to watch it.
Yeah.
And enjoy it for what it is.
Enjoy it for what it is. And for those of you who are Keanu Reeves fans, Sherry Cola shows up and she says some things about Keanu Reeves that I think a lot of people would agree with.